Hi, welcome back to Future Fast. And for those of you who are here for the first time, I urge you to look up the other conversations because we've had some amazing people come in here and share their journey and also talk about what are they doing and how is their future getting affected and what are they doing to prepare for that kind of a future. And also, many of them are making some crazy, some great, some very interesting prediction. So you will find obviously very interesting. And as I say that, first thing, if you have not yet subscribed to us, just subscribe to us in whichever format, whichever platform that you're following us or you're listening to or watching us here. And today we have Neha, who's championing a travel business, who's an entrepreneur. We'll get her journey in the course of our conversation. But what she runs is called Planetable, which is focused at disabled people. And it is quite unique. And let's hear it from her. Neha, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nanju. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. And Neha, why don't you share your journey of you started off in software as a software professional, and how did you
Yes.
get here? And you also dabbled with some other entrepreneurial ventures as well. So share your story with us.
Sure. So I am a failed engineer in the sense, yeah, I have a all clear engineering degree and started as a software engineer with HCL Tech, but then soon realized after a few months that this is not for me and moved internally towards management, like quality management of softwares, then moved into pre-sales with Nokia and then had a couple of startups on the side, and I left my job at Nokia to actually run a business for about a year, and then worked with enterprise sales, software enterprise sales with a company called Global Influencers, and then with Adobe. And I left Adobe to start Planetable almost 8 years ago.
And what was the first side gig, if you will?
So my first side gig was in 2008 as so I started a blog about corruption. So anywhere you are in the world, you could report corruption incidents that you face on a daily basis. It was called Corrupt Saint. So we wanted to curate corruption incidents happening all across the world. That was my first one. Then I was into rental of old books.
How long was this corruption thing?
It started about for an year. Like, honestly, I kind of did all of these side hustles because a monotonous jobs was not kind of satisfying for my overstimulated brain. I needed challenges and stimulation. Like, let's do this and try, like, if we can, if it's fun or if you can make money out of it, kind of things, just for fun's sake. And whatever
did you make money out of it?
No, I actually lost all my money, whatever I earned, all across the years. But I keep it as a, I never went to a management school. So I keep it as a fee I pay towards management learnings real time.
Okay, so what's the second gig then?
The second gig was rental of old books, like collecting old books from friends and families and creating a platform. That did not work really well because I realized I could not build it. Like, I had a software company to build it, and they could not deliver in a way I wanted to. And I lost a lot of money. Then I lost interest and I just let it be. And then,
how long was that?
Pretty much every year I started all my corporate career once a year. like
Okay. What?
whether there were different reasons, like whether I lost interest, I lost money, or I realized I can't do this, I don't have the skills to do it, kind of stuff.
Okay. What's the next one?
The next one was a chain of tea cafe. So today you see chayos and chai point everywhere across India. I started it in 2011 and had, so when none of it was there. And I had three uh, in Noida itself. And it was with two friends of mine. And I had left my Nokia job to do that. I was working full time on it and they were still in job. So kind of the conflict really went haywire. And in one day, so we ran it for like 9 months or so, had three cafes. And in one day, I got so frustrated, I shut them down in one day. Stop. And yeah. And then my mom was also retiring. My father was already retired. So I went back to the job. And then I started a very interesting business, which was Inked Innovate. It never saw the it was never launched, but in terms of samples creation, like fabrics and cuts and designs, and thousands of samples being made in different styles, branding done, name done, logo design done, website done, all was done. But then Planetable kind of happened on the side over the years, because in 2009, I went for took my parents on a holiday after I started earning. So the first thing I did was to save money to go for a holiday, because I had never gone for a holiday as a child. And my parents, who are now in their 70s and 80s, they never went for a holiday until then. So when we went there, and I thought money was the problem, but it was inaccessibility that was the problem. So both my parents are persons with disabilities. My mother is a wheelchair user. My father is blind. And so we faced inaccessibility, insensitivity, and very harsh remarks from people from wherever we went, and the lack of accommodation, rather lack of willingness to accommodate the accessibility needs. So I got into arguments everywhere, and and my parents were like, "You fight everywhere. Why do you have to do that?" And one fight actually turned into a mob fight, because the temple guys made it about religion instead of asking for an accommodation. And that was the point. My parents were like, "We're not going anywhere." They got really scared. It was scary. And they were like, "We're not going anywhere. You go wherever you want to go." And then I started looking for solutions, not to find any. So over the years, this was going on in parallel as a personal journey, when I was trying all of these things and kind of like doing my job and stuff. So there came a point I realized this is a bigger problem, because I was not able to travel even after 3-4 years of that. And so I'm like, maybe this is I'm supposed to do. But I cannot just abandon this if I take it up like other businesses have been doing all these years. Because if I start this, it would create a lot of aspirations and dreams and hope in people. And then I cannot abandon that, because it's not about fun, or it's not about just being me doing something to make money or just for the sake of it. So I'm like, okay, let me do the homework well. So for about 2 to 3 years, I did the groundwork. I looked for data. We don't have data. Till date, we don't have data. So I sat at different international airports overnight, counting the number of disabled people coming out of the airport, and talking to the concierge who receive people at the airports, like how many people with disabilities travel, what is the kind of disabilities they travel, do they travel for work, leisure, what is the average stay that they stay for. So I was kind of trying to build that data that really does not exist. To my surprise, there was not enough data, because even at a place which is considered the most accessible, not enough people were traveling. So, and then I went to the community, like, what do they want to look at as a solution? What are the challenges they face? and what kind of solution would actually solve their problem. So I did it for like 2 to 3 years. And then once I was convinced, there came an epiphany moment. This is it. If you don't do it now, nothing is gonna change. I mean, I have retired parents, I have bills to pay, a certain lifestyle to support, and have no savings because I've already burnt all of it in the side hustles, right? But nothing's gonna change. So I'm like, let's take it one day at a time or 1 month at a time and we'll figure it out, kind of thing. And that's when I resigned from Adobe. And my manager said, at least complete your quarter because you'll get the money. I'm like, no, I want to go. But he kind of convinced me to stay 1 month longer so that I could get my, I was into enterprise sales, so I could get that quarter money as well. And
The incentives for the quarter.
Yeah, because I was into enterprise sales at Adobe. So that helped. Of course, money always helps. So so that's what. And during that time, then I abandoned that innerwear thing completely because I'm like, this is not what I want to do. It's okay, but yeah, I think this is what my purpose is, which has kind of chosen me. I found myself in a very unique position because I'm born to parents with 2 different disabilities. And I haven't met till date a second person born to such parents. And I've really tried looking, okay? And that gives me really unique perspective that when we look at accessibility, I'd look at accessibility in a holistic manner that all disabilities are included. If someone asks me what is accessible and what is not, I can't say this place is accessible because it has a ramp and a toilet, because it has nothing for other disabled people. So that comes intuitively to me. And of course, navigating life in the most inaccessible country in the world, perhaps, like whether it's navigating the inaccessible governance or political systems or government systems. There has been it has been from all my life, I have been doing that pretty much. And yeah, also being independent from a very early age. So I had all the plus for me, I would say. I was made for that.
Neha, you did multiple side hustles and pretty much everything kind of failed or ended in a not a way you would have wanted. And even the one which you shut it down perhaps was not the way you would have wanted when you got started. And you didn't make money anywhere. Yeah, I do believe that most of us, almost all of us, get into some kind of a loop. We tend to repeat our mistakes. So it's very difficult for us to break out because every time we think that we are doing it differently this time, right? We tend to convince, and we also seemingly do different things, right? Maybe cosmetic, maybe it's a different business, but doing the same way how we did it in the earlier business, are different people, and we think it's different. But how we approach the other people would be the same way we are approaching these people.
Yeah.
So we tend to get into this loop. So how did you break out of this loop? Were you conscious that, okay, I don't want to get into this loop and I need to break out of it? And if you, how did you do it? Or do you think you broke out at all?
I think I did not observe it the way you did. Like, I don't think my mind works in that way at
No,
all.
I should be honest about it that I didn't realize it. One of the times I was sharing with one other friend of mine, we met for a coffee, and he was asking me, "What do you, how are things?" And I was telling him this is what I'm doing, and he asked me what happened to the other venture. I told him it went happened this way, and he said, "Hey, you had told me the previous venture also had similar thing." I said, "No, that was different." He said, "No, wait a second." And he actually told me that, "See, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened, and now again this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened." It looks like you're in a loop, and that was
Yeah.
my. So
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't realize that it was somebody else who pointed it out to me, and after that, honestly, I am conscious of it. but not till someone pointed it out.
So I think till before Planetable, I was in a loop because it was like, just for the fun sake of it. You were not doing it the motivation was different. But when the idea of Planetable came
So
along,
how did you break out of the loop?
because of the responsibility that comes with it, in the sense this cannot fail, because you are raising hope in so many people, it cannot fail. So, and there is no plan B. So I kind of, when I started it, I started with the idea I'll burn all the bridges and there's no going back. So it was that's why I spent 2 to 3 years working, like convincing myself. It was not to someone else or preparing. It was like convincing myself whether I can pull it off, whether it makes sense that it can be a financially sustainable business model at all. Because the way I want to do it, because I saw some travel companies in other countries, developed nations, of course, that were doing trips for disabled people, but were single disability focused, like travel company for wheelchair users, travel company for blind. And I find it really kind of, again, discriminatory, because if disabilities
Wait,
decide.
I just want to stop you here. So basically, what you're saying is that you could effectively break out because one, you you kind of uh, didn't want to do anything that you did earlier. You didn't want to do any way that you did earlier, and you also put tried telling yourself that you have no scope to go back and undo anything, so you can't fail. So even if you fall, you have to get up and move, but there is no going back. So
Yes.
so this is your way of forcing yourself out of the loop.
Yeah,
So you basically shut all the doors, so you had to open a new door.
exactly. And this, like, and the testing moment, I think, came after 3 years of Planetable, when I went broke. And when my friends said, why don't you go back to the job? You get jobs easily anyways, and make some money and then come back. But even in the worst of time, the thought of going back to the job never came up, because I wired my brain that way. There is never a going back. You have to make it happen, come what may. Yes, I made a lot of mistakes in those 3 years, trying to learn and figure out the model, because
Does it mean you stop making mistakes?
no, I still make mistakes.
But
And I think with time you kind of become
make
conscious that
and you make
where
new
are you.
mistakes.
Yeah. So like right now I know, sometimes I even feel I'm not good at these things. So I need someone else to do these things, because one, I don't enjoy doing those things, and I am not good at that. There's some, if I can hire someone else who is better at it, it's better for the company. So you
Correct.
think of it that way rather than saying, no, I have to do it. And I think now as a company also, I'm in a position that I can hire someone to do that, which I don't enjoy doing it. Because earlier it was never a choice. It was like, you have to do it kind of thing. So yeah,
So have you got to a point where you enjoy doing it, but there is somebody else who can do better than you, so you should hire them?
yeah, I've reached that point rather totally. Sometimes I even think like I should hire a CEO. I'm a good founder and I'm a dreamer and a strategizer and marketer and stuff. But I think someone else can do a CEO job better than I can.
Uh, uh, I think the day an entrepreneur realizes it, they're very close to succeeding.
let's see when I get there.
No, this is something I've seen. So, yep. So, tell me something. What has been your learning, the core of your learning all through this, which you think will help you succeed going forward?
I think the core learning, not just from the entrepreneurial journey, but also like my childhood and upbringing kind of built me. I was an entrepreneur from an early age, figuring stuff out. Like if a bank denies opening a bank account to your father because he's blind, you'll figure out a way he damn opens that account. You'll find a way to do that because it's something, that's wrong.
So problem solving has been there all through your life.
Yeah, and I can, like, one thing that I really find that I have developed as a skill or a muscle, I can walk into any room and ask for anything. And the maxes, they'll say no. Who cares? So that thing hasn't.
I think that's the real superpower because most of us can't do that. I think it's a serious superpower and which is so underrated. Asking for help is so underrated, which is so unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But kind of sometimes life teaches you the best lessons, I would say that. And that's the positive of being born to parents with disabilities. It's a plus. So, yeah, I think the learnings coming back has been that you should not just focus, like, dabble into different things. So, like, I dabbled into IT, I dabbled into telecom, I dabbled into management, I dabbled into entrepreneurship. I tried everything, whatever interested me, like books, tea. I even had it, like, I even for a couple of months I tried doing the packaging of tea stuff, different tea types. Okay, I tried that too. Then I tried photography because when I left Adobe, I was like, maybe being a professional photographer would add some extra money till the business starts making money. So that was my backup, freelance gig on the side. So, like, that kind of gives you a very, very wider perspective of various things, various industries, which nothing else can. Like, if you're an expert of one, that's great. But if you know that what is possible with various types of industries, various types of technologies, and, like, you can actually think from a much, much wider perspective that
So,
usually an
so
expert
the
cannot.
being a specialist is overrated. So being generalist actually helps.
It does help because, if you want, you can become a specialist of everything, really.
That's a
If you
little tall
spend
statement.
if you spend time and effort,
Yeah.
like, it's like, if we are living in an internet age where you can learn anything from anywhere in the world with an internet connection, pretty much. It's not difficult to learn if you want to learn. You have resources today, like, we are living in the age of Chat GPT and Bard. Okay, everything is there on the internet for you to learn if you know how to learn and what you want to learn. The intention has to be there. So I think, but exploring and dabbling into various things and then trying to interconnect a web in your mind. Oh, I saw this or had this experience in this industry some time ago. It can work in this industry as well, or in this very situation too. That is, I think, has been my biggest learning because I like, I don't know, I was doing it for fun or whatever the motivation of doing all of this were, but I think a lot differently than most people. Right? Not boasting
So
about myself. My thinking is like, I cannot sing and think in one dimension. It's a problem as well because it's very difficult to convince people what I'm thinking.
yeah, you can think in their perspective as well.
But you can't convince them because I know that the lack most people don't have that exposure. And I'm also learning. There are a lot of people who know so much more than me. So it's, I think, the biggest learning, again, you should never stop learning and evolving as a human being. You should never fear that I was wrong 2 months ago. Today I learned more and I changed my thinking or I changed my opinion. Most people are afraid to change their opinion. Or we told people publicly 2 months ago this, and now we can't stand by it. So I can't change my opinion because I did it in the past. You have to
So
keep on
go
changing.
back and delete the tweet you made and come back and say, I never tweeted
No, you can just, the whole point of being human is keep evolution. You have to keep on evolving as a human being. at
Well,
every
we
point.
actually do, even if we don't accept it.
Exactly, we do change, but you need to you the more information you have to change your opinion too. So and that works in business too. It's like what Planet Able to say was even 2 years ago, the vision I had, or what I was thinking about business is totally different what I have today. Completely. I mean, it's changed so fast and so much.
So, the core of your learning one is problem solving, right? Basically, attack the problem no matter what it is. And in the process, wherever you get stuck, there's nothing wrong in going and asking for help. And the least is that they'll say no. But ask for help or seek for help. And third thing is you never know everything, so you keep learning. And you will always be making mistakes, so keep learning.
Yeah.
And as you move forward, do accept that you did make mistakes, but for
We
that,
all
move
do.
forward.
Yeah. So I'll give you this.
And
I
how are these things helping you now?
ah, I think to think better. It's a journey. I would say to think better, to have more clarity of your vision of what you're doing, and to think in a more efficient way, to realize that that realization that I'm not good at this, someone else is good at this, and I should hire them to do this. um, so all of these learnings and findings, and like in terms of problem solving, or asking for help. uh,
Or maybe what are you doing now that that is kind of helping you build a better future in the way you're dealing with things or in the way you're orienting your thinking.
okay, rephrase that question again.
What are you doing now, the
Mhm.
way you do things, right? About doing a business or dealing with people or approaching a problem. How are you doing things that you think is different from the way you did it earlier and is going to help you going ahead in future?
I think so. I think it from the other person's perspective first, also, in the sense, if they have an opinion, what background or life experience they have that made them have that opinion. Be mindful of their life journey as well, because everyone has had their own journey. So I often ask people when I meet them for the first time, what is your story?
Well, that's exactly the reason we do this part of the podcast where we get the journey so that before we talk about future, it helps to get where you come from. I agree with you on that. Yeah, completely.
Yeah, so that is where, that helps you understand why they're thinking the way they're thinking. So that helps you, like, if you want them to change, or, align with your thoughts, or say find a middle way of working together, you know what they're coming from. And it's also helps in judging whether this, say if you're working with an organization and there is a leader involved in that organization, you can judge whether this is the right organization for us to partner at all, because are they open to the idea of collaboration? Are they open, like, are their values or philosophy of doing things aligned with your organization's values and principles? So the background helps in understanding that. I think I'm a better judge of people and organizations, in the sense whether you can work with them or not. I'm still learning, I still make mistakes, but even if when you are friends with people, you cannot work with them. Being mindful of that, like, it's good to work with friends, but sometimes that you have friends, but they can only remain friends in the industry. You cannot collaborate with them because of, in terms of your communication, various reasons, basically. So being mindful of that, not jumping on each and every opportunity that comes your way, like, kind of do a thorough background check of that opportunity, whether it fulfills your goals that you have for personally or organizationally, that whether it will fulfill that goal. So I think a lot of filters have come up in what I do personally or professionally. Personally, I tend to not spend time with people where I don't find any value in the conversation at all. It's not worth my time discussing people, or it's not worth my time discussing a topic that is totally unimportant. I kind of say, okay, my time is more valuable. Maybe I should outsource this work to someone else, and I can use my time to do something more important. That, because otherwise what we tend to do is we get stuck in things which, that the 80-20 rule, basically 80%, 20% of the things have the 80% of the impact. So using that rule not just in your work but in your personal day-to-day life as well. Is it the best use of my time? Sometimes you have to waste that, but is it the best use of my time going there and doing this? Or will I enjoy it? Will that give me happiness? Don't do anything. Like, sometimes, of course, when you don't have money and means, you have to do things which you don't like doing, or you have to go to places, have conversation you don't like. But once you are in a place, this is a privileged space. Being mindful of that too. To have that choice is also a privilege, that you can say, I don't want to do this. Even, oh heck, I bought this t-shirt, spent money on it, but I don't like wearing it anymore. It doesn't give me the happiness I want. I won't wear it. I'll give it away because it does not give me happiness. So it's a big privilege. And similarly with the time, you spend money on
So,
things that get happiness to you. I don't buy uh, clothes or shoes. I live a very minimalistic life, but I spend on fancy restaurants and good hotels. Simple.
you travel quite a lot, right? For
Yeah.
work and otherwise. So, like much of your last 1 year has been a whole lot of travel. So, what's that about?
So I've kind of chosen to travel full time for a bit now. So 1 month here, 1 month there. And recently, last month, I came back after 3.5 months in Europe until my 90 days ended on my visa. So yeah, I mean, uh, like I at the moment, I believe in living in the moment. So at the moment, I don't think any place feels like home. So I just live out of 2 suitcases for a while, and I'll figure it out what it brings in. I mean, I'm fortunate to have work that gives me the freedom to work out of anywhere. So yeah, I think that helps. Like traveling and experiencing different cultures and meeting strangers and getting into random conversations with them and getting to know them. Uh, it makes you realize how small part of the big universe you are in, and uh, there's so much more to life than what we think it is, really. Uh,
So much of contradiction just in 2 minutes. You were just talking about you want to really evaluate whether is it worth spending time talking to somebody, and here you're talking about meeting strangers and random conversations. So
yeah. So
there are
see,
two different planets. It's not
no, no,
even
no,
two
no,
sides
no,
of the
no.
planet.
No, so in terms of random conversation, you will only continue. So if you meet, so serendipity is a big thing. I mean, I believe in that, that you meet random people and within 5 minutes, you know that you can have a much longer conversation with this person. And that is not something where you are taking the value coming out of that conversation is your own growth as a person. So I'll continue that conversation only if I'm enjoying that conversation. And that is worth the time.
Right. So do you want to talk about people who have contributed to making the person that you are, right? The person
Yeah.
who's influenced in the way you think, the things that you do.
I think like a larger part of it has been my parents who kind of brought me up in a way to be very free from very early. I remember I was in fifth when my mother gave me a list of things to go to the market and buy. You know where to get the cycle rickshaw. You know how much it costs. Here is a list. Go to the market, buy all of these things, and keep a cost billing of everything, record of it. And once you have done everything on the list, you can buy yourself a gift up to this much rupees. So, and I was in fifth standard. I did that. And in
That would
seventh,
be about 11 years old, right?
yeah, less than that. I went to school early at 3. So
Oh, okay.
7, yeah, 11. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And 11 or 12. And then I was in seventh. Then I was going to the bank by myself, depositing my school fees. And at that time, I did not realize, I dropped it twice, by the way, but then I continued doing it. And like at an early age, I started managing the banking of my house. Understand? It's not that they could not do it. It's just that they made me independent very early to be on my own and learn the life skills. And I did not realize the value of it when I went to college and I took all my fees in cash on a highway in a shared auto. Okay. And then I went there and other students that did not know how to write a check. And I'm like, you don't know this? I've been doing it so many years. You don't know how to do this. And that is a realization that you're doing stuff which other people haven't been exposed to. So, I've been buying the groceries and the fruits, vegetables since I had cycle in 7th standard, basically. So these are the things that you learn. So like hats off to my parents to making me, making the person I am today. And then, of course, I also believe everyone that you meet, you leave a little part of yourself with them and you take a little part of them with you. So you learn from every person that you meet, in whether it's bad or good or ugly. It could be anything, any sort of experience. Even the bad people teach you the best life lessons. So they impact the person that we become in very, very different ways. But otherwise, big influence, I would say, from a disability perspective, a lot of influence came from my parents and Mr. Javed Abidi, who was a disability activist and who passed away, unfortunately, in 2018. He was the person who got the RPWD Act, the Rights for Persons with Disability Act, passed in 2016. And it's still not implemented, but yeah, it was passed. And then in tourism, so when I started Planetable, I didn't know a single person in tourism. I didn't know the industry. I was perhaps the least traveled travel company owner to start with, because I hadn't traveled. I started because I wanted to travel. So there are a lot of people from the industry who said, okay, use our resources till you have your own kind of thing. So there's this Mr. Subhash Goel who has his company, Stick Travels in Delhi. He did help a lot, I think. And then a lot of people came in from the industry, came in and then played their part. And, and a lot of them are not even in touch, unfortunately. But then they played their part. Like, everyone has a part to play in your life, and then they go. So they all played a part. When I did the first tour of Planetable, there were 42 people that turned up. 22 were persons with disabilities, because we mixed people with and without disabilities together. And 20 were volunteers who were all my friends. 20 friends who turned up as travel buddies on that trip. I never expected 20 friends of mine to turn up. Like, who were not, I was not even in touch with, who just saw, oh, she's doing something, we should go. Like that, So and a lot of time they actually were the pseudo employees of Planet Able. Still, he had no employees. They just worked as volunteers. A friend of mine, Mukesh, he paid my office rent for a few months when I didn't have the money. And yeah, so many of them really made Planet Able what is today. And these are random people I met on plane and bus also. Okay, so random conversations who turn into friends. And yeah, and I try to learn from all of the people that I come across with. I really admire there's this founder of Global Good Fund Fellowship. So the founder is Carrie Rich. So I got the fellowship in 2019. So that was I have never been into many fellowships or anything, but this was something that really helped me think and uh, think big. That you can do big in the world. Uh, that your work should not be limited to India, because there is a whole world as because it gave me the money also to travel across Europe and see what is there, and the opportunities, and a community of fellow entrepreneurs so yeah, so there's been some really good people who have helped. Like there's another Klaus Hockner, who's the CEO of the Austrian Association for the Blind, who is a dear friend and also helped us set up the company in Vienna recently. So yeah, like people kind of, it's serendipity, and the universe comes in and gets the good people around you to um, help you in your journey, I would say.
You want to talk about books, videos, podcasts, films, something, just to, or if you want to recommend to our listeners and audience.
So as much as I want to read many books and podcast and listen to podcasts and stuff, unfortunately for last couple of years, I haven't been able to regularly do any of it for
At
various
least one you
reasons.
should be doing, Future Fast.
Yes, yeah, I will. I will do that. Um, but I buy a lot of books, by the way, and then you know, and now I have a justification to buy a lot of books is that your book collection is like a wine cellar. You don't drink all the wine in one go. Every wine has a time when you open it and drink it. So it's the same with the books. You have a book collection, and then the right book would call out to you at the right time, kind of thing. But I'm very,
That's
very
a good
active.
excuse for not reading.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's true, but at least I know what I'm missing out, what I have to learn. Being aware that I have to learn this by reading this book is also good awareness. But I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram in terms of content consumption, because everyone, whether it's a newsletter are a big thing today, and whether it's a podcast, whether it's a book, like authors, they are all active on these platforms. So they, even if you haven't got the time to read their book or their podcast, you can still go through their Twitter threads, which I regularly do. I follow a lot of people, and that too from diverse backgrounds, like aviation, entrepreneurship, disability, accessibility, women entrepreneurship, and travel. So my interests are diverse, and I learn from the right accounts that I follow on all of these aspects. So people post threads, or now we have long posts on Twitter. So like that is kind of a miniature way of reading books or podcast or learning. Similarly with Instagram. So yeah, I take it as a learning that way for now. I'll read the books that I bought, by the way, one day.
Well, any recommendations, or at least the people to follow for our listeners and audience?
I would suggest reading a couple of books actually. One is Mismatch. Uh, by, I think her name is Kate. It's on inclusive and accessible design. So any business you're doing or any work that you are doing, it will help you think in an inclusive design thinking manner. That's how, even it starts from playgrounds, like the parks that you have in a neighborhood, not being accessible to the websites or mobile applications not being accessible, and how it excludes a large part of the community. And Twitter accounts, I like, if you are like a little bit focused on your health, so you should follow this liver doc, which I follow a lot for learning and the breaking myths about the pseudoscience or pseudo alternative medications. Then on writing, there is David Perrell, who does really good posts and threads about writing well and how writing actually gives clarity to our own thinking. So reading is not enough. Writing is also more important, that putting your thoughts down, even if you're randomly, how can, when you randomly put your thoughts down, it's data. But if you kind of connect it and give it a structure and form, it becomes information which you can yourself learn from. So everyone should write, even if they don't publish, they should write for their own mental clarity. So yes, a couple of these people I would suggest following.
Wonderful. Neha, thank you so much for taking us through your journey and sharing your experience as well. And very soon we would like to get you back to talk about your work and the challenges there. So the listeners and audience, I'm sure you enjoyed it as much as I did. And so please go ahead, share it with people. Uh, Good story. There's a lot of years always. So, and come back soon to catch up with Neha on what is she doing right now and what are the challenges she sees in her business. Until
Yeah.
then, enjoy the ride. Yeah.
Thank you. And do subscribe to Future Fast
Yes.
channel on YouTube, okay?
Thank you, Neha.